What if Ahsoka fell to the dark side? Hearing this, someone said that this could be a genuine what if, and I know this. I just want to cover here first to get some feedback, and to go over how genuinely terrifying this could be. I don't think there's a point in considering her fall after the Clone Wars, besides the possibility of her joining Darth Vader, so I'm going to focus on during the Clone Wars. There are roughly 3 stages that this what if could cover from Ahsoka's life during this time. First, the beginning of the war when she was first introduced. Now, I don't think she would even be a concern to anyone if she fell when she was 14, so moving on. The next one is halfway through the Clone Wars. We actually get a glimpse of this when she is corrupted on Mortis. Ignoring how creepy and disturbing this was, I'm going to rather look at Anakin and Obi-Wan. I think we can all agree that they held back when fighting her. However, they also struggled a bit. They didn't know exactly how to handle her. If they could have just subdued her, then they would have. Looking at it, she's fighting 2 of the strongest Jedi alive at the time. Anakin struggled against her the entire time, and she even managed to disarm him. Obi-Wan on the other hand held her off comfortably, but he didn't really attack. Now, as I said, they were holding back and didn't want to fight her, but that is also another factor. Compared to when she was 14, Ahsoka is now like their family. They may hold back in a fight because of this, not wanting to hurt her, but I doubt if Fallen Ahsoka would let this bond affect her as she demonstrated on Mortis. This would be a major advantage for her against anyone that knows her. Then we have the next stage. This one would be near the end of the war, perhaps when she's kicked out of the Jedi Order or near the Siege of Mandalore. This is the time she's arguably the most dangerous, but least likely to fall. But that can be written around. However, even now, she's not at her peak physical potential, something that usually happens in one's mid to late 20s. Still, this is the peak physically that we will see her, as it seems like her skills drop off as the Rebels show. Back to this though. Ahsoka's whole fight with Maul, Death Watch, and her survival of Order 66 while trapped on a vendor just proves how formidable she is at this time. Even if we doubt the fairness of her fight with Maul, saying that Maul wasn't 100%, we can't ignore her skills against Mandalorians, a people who evolved to hunt and kill Jedi, or her fight against the clones who she deliberately tried not to harm. Incapacitating someone is much more difficult than outright killing them, and she was doing her best to incapacitate arguably the best army the galaxy had ever seen. But during this though, there's a specific scene I want to point out. It was when Ahsoka was fighting Maul again on board the vendor. He was going for the shuttle, but Ahsoka was on his heels. Maul desperately tries to stop her, but she evades everything he throws at her. Then, she lunges at him, and he force pushes her back. Now, if you notice, she's going for his throat. Ahsoka was fully intending on chopping Maul's head off then and there. Maul knew this too, as we see his hand gingerly going for his neck before he runs to the shuttle. This is lightside Ahsoka we're talking about. If she's willing to do something like that at this time, with enough intent to scare Maul, then one could only imagine what she would do if she had fallen at this time. Though I think it would be best for her to fall before this. Her skills wouldn't change much just a few months prior. Anyway, her fall at this time would be most interesting and have the most potential for her actions. Ahsoka's lightsaber form also plays a huge role. Instead of picking a form that would best suit her physically, so I picked the form that best fit her mentally, and that's Form 5. Form 5 is all about power strikes and aggressiveness, but also standing your ground. Form 5 practitioners generally had very large statures, or were physically powerful, because that strength and weight is what's needed to utilize this form to its fullest potential. However, Ahsoka is neither physically large nor strong. She was strong, like stronger than she should be, but she is still young, not fully grown, and of a species that is generally known for its agility and nimbleness, not their strength. She's smaller than the majority and physically weaker than most, and no matter what she does, she can't change that. She just doesn't have the bone structure or muscle mass needed. Compared to a Form 5 user like Anakin, she just doesn't appear to physically have what it takes. However, Ahsoka didn't let this stop her. From the start, she used a reverse grip with Form 5 and later, she got another lightsaber, a Shoto. Eventually, she basically creates her own modified version of Form 5, involving reverse grip and dual strikes instead of power strikes, which suited her physically. This made her very dangerous and very difficult to fight. One cannot draw from experience or knowledge when fighting her, because there is no one else like her. It's also obvious she used the Force as sister when using Form 5 to compensate for a weaker body. But Jedi don't use the Force like Sith do. Jedi let the Force guide them, whereas the Sith use the Force as they see fit. What I'm getting at is, if one used the dark side, their strikes would be more powerful than that of a Jedi, simply because they put the full weight of the Force into it. Ahsoka naturally would be better suited for another lightsaber form, like Form 4, but falling to the dark side and using her unique version of Form 5 was just perfect. If you also look at who she fought during the Clone Wars, we can get a glimpse of what she is capable of. There's the element of plot armor, perhaps just another advantage that Ahsoka has. To be fair though, from her encounters with Ventress, Grievous and Maul, Maul was the fairest fight. From the times when I remember Ahsoka fighting Ventress, Ahsoka was still young, didn't have her second lightsaber, but she still not only held her own, but was able to push Ventress back. Her 2 encounters with Grievous consisted of him basically playing with her the entire time, but she did survive. The second time she was also even able to not only push him back, but figure out his weakness, the Force. She also was smart enough by this time to know when to disengage. Ahsoka's fight with Maul though was her at her near best. With fighting just these 3, she proved herself stronger and more capable than most Jedi. But these 3 weren't the only things that Jedi died at. There are Magna and several things that she faced and survived while many others did not. While she does have as much experience in lightsaber combat as she does against blasters, she is adept and can hold her own. She would also naturally get better at it over time as she gets experience. Now that I've gone over all that, let's discuss all 3 possible starting points for this what if. So, at the beginning of the war when Ahsoka is 14, she is not a threat this time. If she fell then, I believe the most significant thing that would happen is stricter measures when sending Padawans into battle. It wouldn't affect the story in any way besides removing Ahsoka from it, and Anakin probably wouldn't get another Padawan. It's not really interesting enough to do an entire what if on it at this point, so moving on to sometime around the middle of the war. By this time, she has enough potential to survive and become an issue, but is not strong or smart enough to survive in the long run if she decides to cause problems. Depending on the circumstances of her fall, she would probably cause havoc for a while, and Anakin and Obi-Wan would be sent to confront her. But due to their attachment, they wouldn't be able to kill or even harm her, as happened on Mortis. So, the Jedi Council likely sent a Jedi strike to hunt her down. How long she managed to evade them and whether she survives this or not is debatable, but inevitably, she would be captured or killed. If she survived, then she would be brought back to Jedi Temple and likely imprisoned there. This whole thing would undoubtedly shake not only Anakin, but the entire Jedi Order. In Legends, there are many instances of Jedi falling to the dark side during the war, but most of them weren't well known or was covered up. This couldn't be the case for Ahsoka though, as not only was she well known since she was the Chosen One's Padawan, but she would undoubtedly unleash chaos for at least a short while, making her fall known. Palpatine would surely use this opportunity to both get closer to Anakin and hurt the Jedi Order's image. This stage would be a good what if to look at the possible effects of Ahsoka falling, both short and long term, as there is enough time to see them all. Now the last stage, near the end of the war. I would say she would fall around the time she was kicked out or refused to rejoin the Jedi Order. The best option is after she refuses to rejoin, simply because she's not a fugitive. This gives time for her fall without anyone knowing. How she would fall is an issue, but like I said, that could be made up. What would be most interesting is what Ahsoka would do once she fell. I doubt she'd be inactive, but she would probably need to find a way to get her hands on a lightsaber. She could use a vibro sword or staff, but those just don't have the same feel as a lightsaber. However, if Ventress managed to get her hands on one, then I'm sure Ahsoka could. There are plenty of old, forgotten battlegrounds, or she could just get them from a living Jedi, but that might not be the best idea. I'll explain why in a minute. It'll be interesting to see her go to ancient Sith worlds and learn more about the Sith. Perhaps it could also be where she would find her lightsaber. If she could learn more about the Sith and their techniques, then that would make her even stronger. After that, I see her going after someone. I doubt it would be the Separatists or the Jedi. The Separatists aren't really her enemy anymore, and the Jedi because she would know that it's best not to attract their attention yet. I believe the people she would go after are the ones who had fought to convict her for the bombing of the Jedi Temple, since those wounds are fresh. the two primary people of this being Tarkin and Palpatine. She wouldn't go after Palpatine for the same reason she wouldn't go after the Jedi, so Tarkin it is. He'd be a relatively easy target, and I wouldn't mind seeing him gone, though in the long run, that could actually help the Sith. You know, not having the Tarkin doctrine would be beneficial. From there, as she gains confidence, I see her going after bolder targets. I doubt that her fall would change the events too much, but I'm sure that she would eventually go after Palpatine. Though timing isn't ideal, it'd be interesting to see her go after him before Order 66. If she attacked him when people were watching, then he would be in a bind. He could either reveal himself as a Sith, or hope that he would be protected. However, I doubt there'd be many people who could stop Ahsoka, as she would be a force to be reckoned with. So she would either die at Palpatine's hands as he revealed himself, or she would kill him and be the most wanted criminal in the Republic. I'll explore it deeper when I do the series on it, but the last thing I want to say is the point of view. The middle stage would be interesting to see from someone else's view, like Anakin, but the last one I mixed. To delve further, it have to be Ahsoka's point of view, but once she starts hunting people, it'll be interesting to see it from someone else's point of view. Let me know what you think. I've had to rewatch some of the Clone Wars for this, but tell me if I missed anything or got something wrong. Otherwise, does my assumption and assessment seem accurate? Tell me in the comments, and as always, have an awesome day and see you next time.